Letters from Christopher, Chapter 2, Christopher's Early Years. How people treat you is their karma. How you react is yours. Christopher Lee Watts came into the world as innocent as any other child. Born on May 16, 1985, he weighed 10 pounds and was only 19 inches long. He was born on a sunny, warm day in Fayetteville, North Carolina, at Cape Fear Medical Center. He made his debut into the world on Thursday around 7 p.m. Ronnie and Cindy didn't have maternity insurance. She stated it took them 18 months to pay for his birth. He was their second child. Ronnie and Cindy's first child was a 7-year-old energetic little girl named Jamie. She was excited to welcome a baby brother into their family. They grew up close, and they still are today. He was a happy child, always respectful. He adored his father and looked up to him. Cars were their bond together. They went to places like Bristol, Tennessee, and Daytona, Florida. When looking at his picture and hearing the stories about his very normal childhood, you have to ask yourself, just as his family does, how did this change? Cars were their bond together. Overall, Christopher was very much his dad's son. Christopher took after his father's quiet, friendly, and soft-spoken personality. How could someone like this make such a turn from who they seemingly were and make a decision so horrible and destructive? An introvert, Christopher has never been openly affectionate or emotional. He made good grades in school and never got into any trouble with teachers or authorities. He loved sports, and Ronnie coached his Little League teams. They had good family life, better than most. His parents remain married to this day. He grew up in a modest ranch-style home. His dad worked at the dealership in their small town as a mechanic, and his mother worked in finance. Life was slow and good, and in the little town of Fayetteville, summers, especially for Christopher, were easy and laid back. He liked to spend a lot of time just reading, watching television, and spending time with his grandmother. He was her favorite. She was a German lady who was not affectionate, but loved Christopher and taught him many things about life. He spent a lot of time with her as she watched him while Cindy worked. Cindy and her mother did not get along. Living just down the street, her mother tried to control Cindy, telling her how to raise her children. Although his grandmother was extremely negative, that didn't rub off on Christopher. In his teen years, he never dated. He was socially very awkward. He had 2 good friends growing up, though, and really never varied from those 2 friends. They remain friends today and were hurt by the tragedy, not being able to believe Christopher could do something like this. When the couple of friends he did have went to school dances, he stayed home and watched television with his parents. He didn't mingle or go to parties. He never got into the usual teenage trouble. He never drank or did drugs. He wasn't bullied by other kids. He got along well with everyone. He was known just to fly under the radar. Cindy says perhaps he was too perfect of a teenager to be true. Christopher went to a Baptist church when he was growing up. His religious teachings made him fear he would go to hell if he died while sinning. The fundamentalist religion taught him he could not drink, go to dances, or have sex before marriage. Christopher was afraid of God and put him in a box. He felt if he did anything to displease God, he could go to hell, but as long as he obeyed all the rules and didn't sin, God would be pleased with him. Cindy said she could hear him in the bathroom repenting over and over to God for sins he felt he had committed. Cindy said she never knew what those things were. He repeated himself in an OCD manner. Christopher and Shanann did not follow a religion. He told me he feels bad that he never asked Shanann where things were with her beliefs or how she felt about God. When Christopher graduated high school, he went to a NASCAR technical school. His dream was to work on car engines for NASCAR. He tried to get on the circuit, but never made it. He set out to work and bought his tools and was very proud of his accomplishments. He had about $25,000 worth of tools, which his parents sold after he went into prison for only $3,000. Money went a long way back then. Bringing home about $2,500 a month, he had the chance to save money for his future, which he looked forward to, marry, and to have children of his own. He had his own apartment, good credit, was good with money, and was always responsible with his bills. The Watts family was good with their budgets, and they lived frugally. They taught him well. Even as an adult, he never dated much. He was still too shy. It isn't that he didn't like girls, because he says he did. When his cousin told him about Shanann, he wasn't very interested at first until he saw her picture. To him, she was the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. Maybe it was because it was through Facebook, so it felt less threatening, or maybe seeing how beautiful she was, he had the nerve to ask her to friend him. At first, she didn't answer his request, but his cousin, Shanann's friend, told her what a nice guy he really was. Shanann figured she didn't have anything to worry about just being friends with him on Facebook, so she finally accepted his request. They became friends and decided to meet. They hit it off and dated for a couple years before deciding to get married. He had both sides of the family together at the beach when he proposed to her. It was very romantic, the ring was beautiful, and they made a beautiful couple. From there, it was all wedding plans. They were married in November of 2012. There are many crimes and familiar murders. Some get media attention, some are barely spoken of. What makes some noticed and others not at all? I think in this case, we all felt we knew the Watts family. People could relate to a modern day upper middle class family. Shanann had a large presence on Facebook and YouTube. She invited us into her home to share with us all about their lives. She introduced us to her little girls, to Christopher, and even the family dog Dieter. Shanann was always positive and helpful. Some felt they lost a family member or a friend when she was murdered. Therefore, because so many people felt like they knew her, it became a popular crime, one people followed daily. She was live on Facebook and social media many times daily. Christopher says this was one area of stress for him. He did not want to be on camera, and many times Shanann would put him there spontaneously. She was social and loved being in front of people and in front of the camera. He was an introvert and did not like the attention. She loved selling Thrive and helping those who were selling under her downline. Yet not all that a person puts on social media is really the way it is. Facebook is a place people can easily post what they want others to believe their life is, and often after posting it enough, start to believe it to be true. Obviously, there are many things that Shanann posted that were very different from the way it truly was. Shanann had no way of knowing she would die, and people would be able to look into her private life and know everything intimate about her. Shanann did portray them as a perfect family and would often brag about how lucky she and the girls were to have Christopher. Except for the financial issues, she probably really did believe it, because she beamed on videos as she talked about her family, about remaining positive, and about everything happens for a reason. Did this happen for a reason? Not for a good reason. The Rusiks and Watts families have been treated brutally as the media harass them, and people who must have their own set of mental issues made these families miserable for months. People became obsessed with the story. Those people took away both families' rights to mourn and try to heal and get closure. These people have suffered at the hands of those who feel they have the right to know everything. They have the kind of pain that time does not heal. Every day is a struggle. They are collateral damage. There are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of pictures that Shanann had taken to preserve the memories for the future. Little did she know those pictures would be what would help her family once she was not here. Memories that are frozen in time through these pictures. What a gift to cherish. But as the memories are frozen in time, so are their lives. They will never get to see their granddaughters drive a car, go to prom, have their first boyfriend, get married, or have children of their own. They were cheated of being able to experience those things. Shanann will never get to experience being a grandmother, holding her first grandchild, or growing old with her husband. The tragedy is reaches far into the future, all frozen in time. August 13th, 2018. Cindy Watts keeps asking herself why she didn't see this coming, and were there signs that she missed. She blames herself because she and Shanann didn't get along. They never got along from the beginning of Christopher and Shanann's relationship. The last time she saw Christopher before the murders was August 5th. He told her that he and Shanann would be separating. Cindy told him that day she hoped he wasn't seeing someone outside of his marriage. He assured his mother he was not. He was deceptive even then, but that is not unusual during an affair. Lying and deceiving others while living a double life comes easily over time. A mother does not stop loving a child, no matter what he has done. So, of course, the Watts still love Christopher. The mother-child relationship is only second to God's love and unconditional love. It's the closest human relationship there is. His mother doted on him. She was used to having a lot of control in Christopher's life. Yet Ronnie, his father, was the one Christopher looked up to, calling him his hero. Now, in the judicial system, they have no say or control. In part, his mind may have blocked out exactly what happened that morning. In trauma, one becomes anxious and out of control. Christopher brought that trauma on himself. Christopher knows he is required penitence. He owes Shanann, Nico, Bella, and Celeste penitence. But his biggest penitence is to God. He is paying for the crime with the rest of his life. He is a broken man put together by the grace of God. The couple of months leading up to the murders may put the pieces of the puzzle together for the why Christopher did this. It has been very important to Christopher what people think of him. He says he has always tried to be good to people, always be kind and helpful, and what people thought of him made a difference. It bothers him that people hate him, and he puts it, judge him. People judge what they have seen, so they hate what he has done more than they hate him. Many want to see this evil person in prison for the rest of his life. Many would have chosen for him to get the death penalty. It's not easy for people to let go of what happened. Maybe it's because they are trying to find a way to make sense of it. Christopher says maybe people can relate it to their lives, but they could be one bad decision away from tragedy. Chapter 3. Life-Changing Realities. Shanann worked for Thrive, a direct marketing sales company that sells nutrition and weight management products in the form of vitamins, shakes, and patches. Christopher was consuming this product on a daily basis in large amounts. He was wearing what they call DFT Duo Patch, which he has said caused his heart rate to speed up like he was working out all day. At one point, he said he never had fewer than 2 patches on him at all times. Besides the Duo Patch, he was also drinking more than 1 shake a day. He took 2 of the tablets every morning. He was loaded up. Christopher was taking so much of this high end he couldn't sleep. He says he could only sleep about 3 hours per night. He did say that because of living in Colorado and taking Thrive, Shanann did not have to take any medication. Shanann was doing very well selling Thrive, and Christopher benefited in several ways from it. Shanann earned many free trips, which they were able to enjoy. Since Christopher worked a full-time job, he was not free to go on all of the trips and was needed at home to care for the girls. So, there were many weekends he would stay at home doing special things with them and taking them special places. This was his time to bond with them. He supported Shanann in what she had to do when she traveled. This is how she helped to earn a living. Her goals were high, and she claimed to have more than 200 people working under her. She had great ambition and was headed on up the ladder with Thrive. One of the things Shanann did to help with her business was to entertain. She planned parties, some of them quite large, spending hundreds of dollars on one dinner party. It was very important to her to appear well off. Appearances were everything. Some of her friends looked up to her and were envious of her because she seemed to have it all. He always knew where his place was. When they would have company or dinner parties, his place was to stay upstairs and entertain whatever children were there. He didn't mind much because he preferred to stay in the background anyway, and honestly, trying to keep up an appearance was kind of embarrassing for him. Christopher had become background noise. It's very harmful when this happens to a person, and soon something will have to change. On June 22nd, Christopher and Shanann went to San Diego with Thrive. Right before this trip, Christopher and Nikki, a co-worker, started to take flirting to the next level. The two of them made plans to meet after he returned from his trip, which he said he did not want to take. A video that Shanann posted of them the day they had just arrived in San Diego shows Christopher trying to stay out of the way of the camera. He obviously was not happy about being there. The two girls, Bella, 4, and Celeste, 2, stayed home with their papa, Frank Rusick, Shannon's father. Arriving home early on June 26th, Shanann took the girls, left later that afternoon with her dad for a 5-week visit to North Carolina. Even though he never told her he didn't want her to go, he joined them a month later for a week-long family vacation. Shanann told her friends that before she left, he couldn't keep his hands off her. He now says if she had not gone, he does not think he would have had an affair and none of this would have ever happened. If she had been home, he probably would not have met Nikki at that park or ever went out with her, he says. I want to be careful about this statement he made, that it does not sound like it's Shanann's fault he had the affair or that he killed her. Neither was her fault. She was probably tired from her early pregnancy. She got a lot of help from grandparents in North Carolina. It was probably a welcomed break for her. It was just before the trip that Christopher learned of her pregnancy. The video that Shanann posted online shows he was not happy about the news of their third child. The very same week he had started to see Nikki was when he found out Shanann was pregnant. He was caught off guard by the announcement because it had taken Shanann much longer to get pregnant the last 2 times. He said it made him feel more guilty because he had just decided to have a more serious relationship with Nikki. He always wanted a son, but this was a big stressor for him, even though he was part of the decision, and at the time it felt right to have another baby. He did not know what was just around the corner, that he would meet someone that would sweep him off his feet and make him regret he ever had a family. Now he felt he was not ready for this baby because mentally he was with Nikki. Once Shanann and the girls left for North Carolina, Christopher was free to do whatever he desired, and he desired Nikki. He and Nikki's relationship escalated fast. He said that as much as he tried to take things slow, Nikki was pulling him. Christopher was caught off guard because he had never had a woman pursue him before. She lured him with lewd sex and sent nude pictures of herself on his personal phone. Nikki was definitely chasing him. She knew he was married and had 2 girls, but in fairness, she was told by Christopher that he and Shanann had both decided to separate. She most likely knew about Shanann's pregnancy because she spent time looking up Shanann on Facebook and the internet. She possibly wanted Shanann's life. Shanann had many YouTube and Facebook videos that Nikki most likely saw. Christopher says really bad things went on in Nikki's house, things he is very ashamed of. Some of the things Christopher says he will take to the grave with him. Shanann was beautiful, lived in a beautiful home, had 2 beautiful children, had it all, or at least it appeared. She had all of the things that would make a mistress jealous. It seemed Nikki stalked Shanann, at least on the internet, if not in person. Even though Shanann dealt with health issues, she seemed like a person who accomplished a lot. Nikki, watching from the outside, was very unfair to Shanann. Nikki knew her competition, but Shanann never knew hers. Nikki went to the police early on to let them know she had been seeing Christopher. As far as it appears, her accounts of the relationship were not truthful. She went to them early on to make herself not look guilty. Her feelings were more than she would tell the FBI. Some things she told them were blatantly not true. But Christopher was drawn to Nikki and enjoyed being with her. She cared how he felt about things. She cared about what he thought and would ask his opinion. He was not used to this. Since this was what Christopher needed most, it wasn't the sex for the most part that pulled him in. He was much more in love with the way she treated him and made him feel like a man again. She validated his masculinity and gave him the feeling she adored and looked up to him and valued what he had to say. Respect is what he felt from her. He did not want to let that go. At all costs, he determined to hang on to someone that caused him to feel like he had never felt before. Possibly she knew how to play him and played him like a piano, but he felt like he had a voice with her, which he did not have with Shanann. He had been afraid to be himself around Shanann. He never offered his opinion and was rarely asked how he felt about anything. He commented he could not hang something on the wall in their house by his own decision without Shanann getting mad about it. Probably Shanann had always been, but then Nikki came into the picture. He says the control of being so bossy seems to have led him where he could not even talk to her about things that were vital to their marriage. Being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while loving someone deeply gives you courage. Christopher's deep love he thought he had for Nikki may have given him the courage he needed to get rid of his family or to live the life he felt he deserved. Christopher said he had never even considered having an affair or that there was anything wrong with his marriage until he met Nikki. He wasn't looking for an affair, but Nikki was too much for him to resist. They felt a common bond, and he chose the wrong path. Nikki was playing a dangerous game, and it seemed she pulled out every stop to seduce and intoxicate him. Christopher spent almost all of his time with Nikki the month of July. He practically lived at her house and had almost no time to think about what he was doing. When he was with her, he did not even think about his family, as though he did not have one. When he did think about them, he felt very guilty. Nikki knew this, and it was the reason Christopher, in his own words, had to talk her down off the ledge more than once. She became the injured party in her eyes, instead of seeing it for what it was. She then tried pulling the last punch by telling him she wanted to give him a son. She knew that she could get to Christopher and to have him feel bad for her by telling him they did not have any first together. She's trying to steal someone else's husband, and she is sad she doesn't have any first with him. She'd share his first affair with him, but that wasn't enough. Did she think Shanann was ruining her life? Christopher feels this is when the idea to take the lives of his family began. He didn't want to, but knew it was going to happen. He did nothing to fight those feelings. Nikki had a group of friends, he says, were involved in some very dark things. He can pinpoint a time that he could feel himself getting darker on the inside. In asking what Nikki was really like, he suggested reading Proverbs 7:5-27, and I would see Nikki. These verses in the Bible show a very sexual woman who does not care that she is married. Wisdom will save you from the other woman, the other man's wife, who tempts you with such sweet words. One day I was looking out my window and some foolish teenagers and noticed one who had no sense at all. He was walking through the marketplace and came to the corner where a certain woman lived. He then turned up the road that goes by her house. The day was ending. The sun was set, and it was almost dark. Suddenly, there she was in front of him, dressed like a prostitute. She had plans for him. She was a wild and rebellious woman who would not stay at home. She walked the streets, always looking for someone to trap. She grabbed the young man and kissed him. Without shame, she looked him in the eyes and said, "I offered a fellowship offering today. I gave what I promised to give, and I still have plenty of food left. So I came out to find you, and here you are. I have clean sheets on my bed, special ones from Egypt. My bed smells wonderful with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let's enjoy ourselves all night. We can make love until dawn. My husband has gone on a business trip. He took enough money for a long trip and won't be home for 2 weeks." This is what the woman said to tempt the young man, and her smooth words tricked him. He followed her like a bull being led to slaughter. He was like a deer walking into a trap, where a hunter waits to shoot an arrow through its heart. The boy was like a bird flying into a net, never seeing the danger he was in. Now, sons, listen to me. Pay attention. to what I say. Don't let your heart lead you to an evil woman like that. Don't go where she wants to lead you. She has brought down some of the most powerful men. She has left many dead bodies in her path. Her house is the place of death. The road to it leads straight to the grave. On August 5th, when Christopher was visiting his family, he had already started to plan what he was going to do to his family when he got back to Colorado. In an effort to make Shanann look bad, he told his family that if he ended up dead, they should have the authorities look at Shanann. His sister told him to put that in writing. He wrote a letter stating such, and that letter hit the media.